What up, A-fam? Kitty here with the Tola Visuals, and I'm going to explain why are Leicas so expensive. Is a 10K camera setup really worth it? Why would I get that when I could get 2 cameras, editing software, accessories, and still have money to spare? Maybe, but is it a Leica? No. Yes, I've heard many opinions from people who haven't even tried a Leica, unfortunately, because y'all missing out. And they go off of 2 things, prices and specs, which makes sense when you're buying a camera. But what if you should be considering other things? Of course, there's great cameras that are more affordable. I have a few of them myself, but it's like the Toyota Camry. You know how it's a very safe and reliable vehicle, but why do we still drool over the Porsches and the Teslas and the McLarens? Because it teleports you faster to your destination? I mean, not in LA traffic at least. No, it's more than that. It's a community of a very niche group of people that not only cares about the function of this particular item, but also how it feels. And to me, Leicas are like the McLarens of the camera world. It's a class of shooters that dive into rabbit holes with even knowing who the designer of the lenses are. You feel a human connection when you pick up one of these. Let me start off also by saying that this is a dream for me to shoot on the Leica SL2 since like 2 years when I first heard about it. So I'm really grateful to B&H and Leica for letting me have fun with this and also share my experiences with you guys. And since I'm new to the Leica fam, I want to share how it feels to me. I'd love for you to touch the camera through the screen and hold on to it, but we don't have that technology. So I'm gonna do my best to describe to you what it feels like. It's like a certain smell that reminds you of a great memory, or like when you pick up a big ass seashell and listen to it and you can hear the ocean, or just like eating your mom's comfort food. There's just like this instant connection when you hold this item to the people who made it. It's crazy. And yes, all that energy is there. When I first opened the box, I felt a huge range of emotions. I had excitement, happiness, and then all that wiped away with sadness because I instantly knew I had to return this thing in the next couple weeks. My anxiety of the inevitable just ruined the moment. Like, it mostly does a lot of the times, but especially this time. So after I whined about how much I wanted it like a little kid in the toy store and started looking around all the stuff that I could sell so I could have this thing, I finally got back into reality and snapped out of it, and I noticed the build. The grip was substantial, which is something I enjoy with any camera I use. The weight of it was heftier than other cameras, but it wasn't like, oh my god, this is so heavy kind of way. It was like, oh, this is made to last a long time. Its housing is fully metal, made out of magnesium or aluminum, or how other people like to say aluminium. I just like saying that word instead of plastic. They don't play. And then I finally turned on the camera and it had the cutest welcome screen. I'm familiar with the Leica Q2, so the menus were pretty similar. The photo and the video settings are separated and you could adjust it with the touchscreen or also the satisfyingly clicky buttons. Overall, the body was a very minimal design, but I didn't have problems changing the ISO, the aperture, or the shutter speed. I didn't know what ports it had at the time, so I was surprised to see when I opened the doors that there was a full HDMI, a mic jack, and a headphone jack. Yes, this camera was made for us video people. Who said that Leicas were only for photographers? On the other side, it had dual SD card slots. And on the bottom is where the battery can pop in and out like so. They sent over the 24 to 90 f2.8 to f4. Excuse me, this range obviously covered everything I needed to shoot for the entire few weeks. And 24 to 70 who? I don't know her anymore. As I'm shooting with it right now. By the way, I watched a video on how they make these cameras, and they have these cute little squeeze bottles that paint in the numbers like so. That detail. This inspired me for my concept art film where you could see a lot of the video test footage. Here, down here, somewhere. Hopefully you get a chance to watch it because I worked really hard on it and I had a lot of fun. And it's pretty much about the human connection through handmade items. Which brings me to my next point, image quality. Ooh. Just stop, because the Leica image quality, it's so unreal and just so unfair. I set my picture profile to natural, which is my go-to for most cameras, and the first week I did a talking YouTube head type of video, and I did not even put a LUT on it, and I didn't even do not even basic adjustments. Usually I'm sitting there with like the little bars, just like adjusting shit and importing LUTs to see what works best, but no. The image was just so incredible, I skipped all of that. Yeah, unheard of, I know. It's like blasphemy in the video production world, but I did it and it looked amazing. Don't worry, photographers, I did take some photos and tested it at the dam where they actually filmed the On BTS music video, so I had all that energy running through me. Mr. Lumpin's, just his presence, I felt it. But the sky blues looked so good. And just for fun, I threw these ones actually into Lightroom and adjusted them to see how the colors would perform and to test that 14 stops of dynamic range. And oh my God, it pulled the details out of the shadows on the dam like crazy. You could see details. I was shooketh. And personally, I don't know if it's just me, but I always have this inner debate with myself on what my blues should look like. So my indecisive ass can't determine if I should go gray or teal or like a muted dark blue or maybe purples. Maybe some of you can relate to my color struggles, but for these photos, I think I finally found my look. I went with this desaturated dark teal blue for the skies. It looked phenomenal. Here's a before and after. Overall, the color science on this camera is amazing. That's what I'm trying to get at. I also did this silhouette TikTok with like a red RGB backdrop, and oh my God, usually the red RGB with my other cameras looks like more orangey or magenta, but nope, that Leica nailed these rich reds so well. And that's probably why they have a red button on their camera. On my Leica Q2 video, I actually had fun shooting in monochrome, which really fit the concept about shadow work. The contrast was incredible, but it was a lot of fun playing with colors this time around. I feel like when discussing cameras, color science and the feels is never the main topic, so that's why I wanted to start out with that first. Usually it's about resolution and megapixels and image stabilization and autofocus. Now that we're on that topic, I will get to the specs for my spec nerds out there. It shoots up to 5K 30 and 4K 60, 8-bit and 10-bit internally, 47 megapixels for photos, so this does make for a good hybrid camera. And we get a variety of autofocus settings. When I was shooting, I mostly switched between intelligent autofocus and manual focus. IAF is their intelligent autofocus, which automatically switches between AFS and AFC depending on subject movement. The SL2 also has face and body autofocus, field, tracking, spot, etc., but no actual eye autofocus. You can also adjust the autofocus settings further, but personally I didn't mess with that. You could touch focus and also push on the joystick in manual mode to autofocus quickly. I loved that when I was just too lazy to use the focus ring, it just focused really fast. Overall, autofocus worked for most of my situations. I did, however, struggle with my nail painting slider shot that I shot myself. It was hard to do because I had to take the nail polish bottle, set it here for my like stand-in and then go around this table to focus and then hit record and then come back around and move the nail polish bottle and replace it with my nail and then hit the slider button all by myself and hope that the focus was okay. And tracking worked the first time and then it kind of just did its own thing. So I settled on field, and after a few tries, I got a couple good takes, which I had to get because this was my opening shot for the video. So I had to nail it. Pun? Did anyone get that? Yeah, anyways, it would have been a lot better if I had someone operating the camera instead of me doing all that by myself. Stay here in slow motion. Oh my God. I couldn't help myself but splooge over the sawdust in 120 frames per second slow-mo. Ooh. Got me singing some R&B songs, some slow jams. Not well, but still singing it. And don't worry because this camera is weather sealed, so it can perform in extreme weather situations, so dust was not an issue. The playback was also automatically in slow-mo so I could watch it in real time and get my slow jams in slow motion. Okay, that's enough. Moving on. This was my first time using my new Saw 2, so I was all types in a good mood that day, just nerding out over all the new toys that I had. And as a tip for slow motion, particles and water droplets look really nice when you don't conveniently have a friend who knows how to backflip or skateboard. I feel like that's just YouTuber 101. Know how to backflip and be a skateboarder. One wish of mine is that it had improved battery life. If you're gonna be looking into the setup, definitely get at least 2 batteries, maybe 3, because when you're shooting on 4K and it dips below 25% battery life, it will disable it. So you'll just have to go to shooting 1080, or what I did is I used my phone charger and plugged it in via USB-C. You can also use an iPad charger, etc. But that is something to note, and they said they're working on it because it's a known issue. So back to our initial question of why Leica cameras are so expensive. Well, when it comes to image quality and the build quality made by human hands and their crazy engineering and the fact that it comes from a very small company in Germany, yes, they are a small company, believe it or not, the price pretty much explains itself. There's a certain aura and energy you get when you know that this was put together with such care. And that energy transfers into it, and it also makes you feel so happy to be part of a community of people who just enjoy cameras and imagery as much as you do. I know it's just an object and you can't really understand until you actually try it and see what you can create with it. It's really hard to describe it in words, but if you haven't already, I hope that one day you get the chance to shoot on a Leica. It's a magical experience and it makes me so proud that I chose this as my life skill. Or maybe it chose me, I don't know. But either way, it brought me to you, and that's pretty special too. Hopefully you get a chance to look at my art film that shows more test footage with the Leica SL2. I worked really hard on it, I got my hands dirty, so hopefully you have time. But I'll see you next time, you fam, and we out. Done. Bye. Cut. In slow motion. Specs. Worked out yesterday and now like everything hurts. Don't you dare. All right, cut. Or cut. Cut, cut.